Drogba hits it into the net. One back for the Ivory Coast. Brazil appeal for offside. Flag stays down. Drogba's got his goal. And here's a chance for North Korea, which they've taken. North Korea have scored against Brazil in the World Cup. June-2010, the man who's written himself into Asian footballing folklore.
World Cup Matchday Live. North Korea versus Ivory Coast on Talksport.
And a very good afternoon to you. My name's John Rawling, alongside Bobby Gould for you this afternoon. And a match, Ivory Coast against North Korea, which Ivory Coast simply have to win and hope that Brazil beat Portugal. They need to hammer Korea, have a 10-goal goal swing for Ivory Coast to qualify and for Portugal to miss out, and that's assuming that Brazil can beat Portugal. But it's possible. If Portugal get a draw or better, then it's all academic because they go through alongside Brazil. Well, so far as the teams are concerned today, Ivory Coast go hunting goals, and Sven-Göran Eriksson, their manager, has made big changes. Out goes Solomon Kalou, who said that the occasion is getting to him and indeed getting to some of the other players. In comes Javinho and Carter Keita as strikers. Keita, you'll remember, the man who shamefully got Kaká sent off in the closing stages of that match against Brazil. Dindan also stands down, and fullbacks Demel and Tiene, and so little Arthur Bocker comes in at left back, stands only about 5'4.5", and Emmanuel Aboué of Arsenal we expect to play right back with a real attacking brief rampaging down that right flank. Now, you might have expected North Korea, hammered 7-0 by Portugal, to field a much changed lineup. Well, not the case. Kim Jong-un, their coach, has said, get out there, do it all again. Let's see if you can redeem yourself. What do you make of that, Bobby?
It's very interesting, but on the back of that, if he believes in his players and he gives them a second chance, they've got to go out and take it. But one of the most interesting pieces of reading I've come across was that when the national radio of North Korea was reporting on the game against Portugal, once it went to 4-0, John, they stopped commentary on the game.
Do you know, back in 1938, when Hitler's Germany was getting a commentary on Max Schmeling against Joe Louis, and Joe battered him in the first round, surprisingly, the same thing happened.
It happened there as well.
Would you believe it?
That's amazing.
What an interesting parallel. Anyway, the players here making their way out. North Korea against Ivory Coast, and North Korea are just really playing for pride. Ivory Coast, of whom so much was expected, well, they are having to go out there and get an absolute avalanche of goals. Shortly we will have the anthems. Ivory Coast and North Korea, the two sides, the two squads are ranged out in front of us, and first of all, the anthem of North Korea. North Korea, many of their players short in stature and physique, sang their anthem proudly. We'll talk to Bobby Gould a little bit more about that in a moment, because Ivory Coast, a team of really big, strapping lads, real physical presence, and now they stand for their national anthem. Didier Drogba, unquestionably the star of African football. He is the captain of Ivory Coast, and now the two teams walk alongside each other, shake hands prior to the big match, and you can just see as they walk past there, Bobby, some of the Ivory Coast players, the better part of a foot taller than some of their opponents.
Yaya Toure there, he looks colossal. I couldn't believe it. And on the other side there was the little number 11, Mun Inguk, is it?
He's the one. He stands about 5'3".
He was nearly as short as some of the Muscats there. I hope he's a good footballer.
Well, this is how we expect the sides to line up. Ivory Coast, Boubacar Barry in goal, Emmanuel Eboué playing that right-back role. He'll move forward, joining in with the midfield whenever he gets the opportunity. Kolo Toure and Didier Zakora, the central defenders, and on the left side, Arthur Boko. Midfield, Yaya Toure of Barcelona, and also Ismail Teote and Romerick. And then up front, playing just behind the out-and-out leader of the line, Didier Drogba, will be Gervinho of Lille and Kader Keita of Galatasaray. Bobby, you've got your thoughts as to how North Korea are going to line up, and we assume it's going to be very much as before, probably a 4-4-2 formation, with Jong Tae-se, the man heading the line up front, and the captain who played really well, I thought, in both their matches, and a little bit unlucky that that last game's going to remember for 7-0, but nevertheless he played okay. Hong Yong-jo, number 10, who sort of plays just behind Jong Tae-se.
Well, they played the five in midfield, and John Tae-se roams, and very strong, very athletic alike, but not as big as these people from
Côte d'Ivoire.
Côte d'Ivoire, is it there?
The Ivory Coast.
The Ivory Coast, but they're such big lads. I just couldn't believe it when I saw them there. It was amazing. It really is, but takes all sorts to play football, big or small.
Well, I just wonder if Sven-Göran Eriksson, who's got the team here, leading a team to the World Cup finals for a third time, whether he might just regret a little bit putting his side out with a pretty negative sort of ethos in that opening game against Portugal, because that 0-0 draw could cost him dear.
Yeah, but he said about this, don't think we're going to go out and attack. He says because the North Koreans can play. Yes, they can frighten them, but as we saw with Portugal, they went out with a purpose. We didn't see that with New Zealand, and unless you go out with that mindset, then what are you going to try and contrived to do?
It was wonderful to see the way Portugal played, wasn't it? It was Ronaldo played with a smile on his face, and they just tore into the Koreans in that second half.
There's got to be a 10-goal turnaround. That's what we're looking at. If the Ivory Coast want to go through, 10 goals, 5 for them, and Portugal got to beat 5. So it's, is it possible? Yes, of course it is.
Ivory Coast playing from right to left. It's another glorious afternoon. The Nelspruit Stadium pretty much full. It holds just over 40,000, and on the far side, as we look across a pitch which starts off looking pretty immaculate, the fans over on that far side bathed in warm sunshine, and it's Ivory Coast who come forward with Arthur Boko, who in turn plays it in front of him, looking to let loose Gervinho, but unable to do so, and it's back with Korea, who try to bring it out on this right-hand side, but they lose out in midfield, and Romerick on the left-hand side just checks back and gives it back to Boko, the diminutive fullback from Stuttgart, and he plays it inside to Teote, who now spreads it across to the right-hand side, where it is Yaya Toure and Kader Keita who cuts inside. Good ball through. Chance for the opening moments for Ivory Coast. How close they came, and it was Kader Keita breaking through who forced a not particularly convincing looking save from Myong-guk. It was a good ball through right hand side of the area, and he just about managed to get down low to his right to deny the Africans.
Well, they were all at seas there as the Ivory Coast went through. Kader Keita there, the player that was sent off, played a great one too, but should have scored, John. He should have scored, no doubt about that.
He had a great opportunity, but Ivory Coast starting dominance in a dominant manner, and I suspect this is what we're going to be watching throughout as the ball comes in long from the left side. It's aimed towards Drogba, who's tussling for it on the far side of the area, holding it up with a couple of defenders right behind him, just lays it back now, and the final delivery needs to be good from this right hand side for Ivory Coast. A little bit of of trickery out on the right wing. He turns two defenders, crosses it in left-footed, and it's headed clear by Kwan Chon, but only as far as a green and white vest, a green and white jersey of Ivory Coast once again. And it's Boko who just checks it back there now for Jovino, who wins a throw-in in the Korean half on the left-hand side. Jovino, who's been brought back into this strike force as the Ivory Coast team goes into this match, whatever Sven-Göran Eriksson says, knowing that they have to find a way to just swamp North Korea here. And what a dream start it would have been for them if Carter Cater could just have maintained his composure a little bit better and got that opportunity which came their way in the opening minute. We're only in the third minute here. It's North Korea 0, Ivory Coast 0. Brazil versus Portugal continuing on 10:53, 10:89 medium wave with Talksport, Jim Proudfoot and Stan Collins bringing you the commentary on that one. And if you want to do that, then that's where you find it. Meantime, here on digital, we have Boko, left-hand side, driving in a low shot. The goalkeeper able to collect, but Ivory Coast dominating these early stages as we might have expected.
Yeah, with intent. They're putting themselves into the penalty area. The small left-back there, Arthur Boko, was directing going towards goal, but his shot lacked a lot of no power whatsoever, to be perfectly honest.
Very experienced player, Boko, who plays in the German league for Stuttgart, 27 years old. He's been brought back in on that left flank, but now here's Jovino hugging the left touchline. There's an appeal for a throw-in from North Korea. Jovino's not happy about it, and Jong Hok, who's playing in the right-back position for North Korea, as he did for the first two matches, he will take the throw-in. Looking for a bit of movement up ahead, looks suspiciously like a foul throw, but it's kept in by Mun In-guk, who is the diminutive figure who Bobby Gould was telling you about, but they lose out possession, central midfield, and now Ivory Coast move forward with purpose once more. Here comes Carter Cater, who just has been denied on the edge of the area, and now North Korea bring it forward down the right-hand side with Mun In-guk, and now it's Cha Jong-hok, who tries to thread his ball forward, but plays it straight into the green shirt of Romerick. Then Ivory Coast lose out again as they try to get it into the danger area. Big pump forward by a North Korean defender, and a first chance for Boubacar Barry to collect for Ivory Coast and bowled it out to the right side to Emmanuel Aboui, who plays it inside to Didier Zikora, and then it's threaded through looking for a run from Jovino. It wasn't going to come though, and it's back with the Korean goalkeeper Myong-guk.
Well, they've got three up front, the Ivory Coast, Jovino, Didi Drogba there, and Abdul Kader Keita, and they're going to be the ones that they try and set up. I've noticed they've played a lot of good one-touch in this opening stages, John, and to beat opposition like this, you've got to move the ball around very, very quickly.
We have to remember Portugal, when they played North Korea, it was only 1-0 at half-time. The real swamping of the team came in the second half. 3 goals in 7 minutes in one burst, and North Korea really did look a pretty abject sort of outfit by the end of it, and they are just trying to get men behind the ball here as they move it down the right side, Ivory Coast, but the delivery was not a good one from Yaya Toure, and it goes out for a throw-in for North Korea, which is taken by Ji Yun Nam, and they move forward down the left-hand side now, and they move forward with a little bit of purpose. It crosses over into the Portuguese half, left-hand side of the pitch in the bright sunlight over there, and North Korea trying to put a few passes together, just trying to settle themselves into this match. They've not really done so far, and Ivory Coast harrying them every step of the way. The ball comes in played long towards Jong Tai-se, but it's headed clear by the Ivory Coast defence, comes out as far as Cha Jong-hok in the right back position, and there the build-up begins once more for North Korea, who have never got out of the first stage of a World Cup. 44 years since they played before, when they had that exciting run which wound up with them having that phenomenal match against Portugal, 5-3. But here it's been a rather different story, and they've been on the receiving end, and here come Ivory Coast once more.
They're like the New Zealanders, North Korea. They look a little bit tired, they look a little bit apprehensive, And when you're not a full-time professional and used to playing so many games in such a short period of time, it takes its toll. And that's what we saw yesterday with the New Zealand team, and we're seeing that at the moment with these North Korean lads.
Boca and Gervinho down the left side for Ivory Coast, and they try to just lay it back behind them to Yaya Touré. The pass couldn't find its intended recipient. Arthur Boca takes the resulting free kick. Romerick, the resulting throw-in now. Romerick, and now down the right-hand side. Aboue's making a little run, but they centre it, aimed at Drogba, and it goes out towards the goalkeeper, who collects gratefully. And North Korea thwarts that attempted attacking move once more from Ivory Coast. It's interesting that the coach of North Korea said it's entirely my fault what happened against Portugal, and I got my tactics wrong. Brave things to say. I hope it doesn't not words which come back to haunt him, as the ball sprayed through to Taisei, but too much on it, and it goes out for a goal kick for Ivory Coast.
No, they had a good qualification, and they've got to the finals. As a manager, as a coach, you go there with the squad that you've selected. They've been together for 6 months. They stopped the Nation League in North Korea, so the coach could just take the players away and not be mattered by other things back home in North Korea. And they adjust, John, but it takes something else other than just being together. You need to play against top professionals. You need the rhythm. You need that going. Okay, people might think England, France and the Italians have been tired, but they are full-time professionals. I'm not sure whether these North Koreans would train as hard as the European players.
Didier Drogba and Kolo Touré wait for a chance here, maybe, as it's driven in from 35 yards out. A free kick by Romerick, struck powerfully left-footed into the midriff of the goalkeeper, who manages to collect at the second attempt. Drogba was waiting, Gervinho was there, Keita was there. They were all looking for the rebound, but it didn't come, and Ivory Coast, well, they continue to dominate these early stages as North Korea clear long down the left-hand side, and it's going to be a throw-in for Ivory Coast as Sven-Göran Eriksson stands and watches in his technical area, rubbing his chin in a contemplative sort of manner. I wonder what thoughts he has. Master tactician, supposedly. Is he going to get it right here?
Allegedly. Being paid £2 million for the short-term contract, isn't he?
That's as much as you're getting, isn't it?
Yeah, but he's picked up a few million on the way, though, hasn't he?
He's not done too badly, has he? Manchester City, Mexico, and now here with England, of course, for a couple of World Cup campaigns, and now here with Ivory Coast. You wouldn't mind being a quid or two behind him. But is he going to be able to manufacture somehow, conjure up the result which Africa and the Ivory Coast are hoping for and praying for? Tremendous support for Ivory Coast. They're all ranged out in the sunshine on the far side in orange shirts, dancing from foot to foot, cheering their side on, and now they break down the left-hand side. Chance here for the Ivory Coast into the area. It's pulled back right across the area. Nobody can get on the end of it. Gervinho breaking down the left-hand side, played it left-footed, and nobody could get a foot on it as agonisingly it rolled across the face of the goal.
Gervinho there, he's rolled it across the line, and Drogba was looking for the cutback, and the opposite forward, Keita, was nowhere near anticipating a tapping on the back post there.
Breakdown in communication. Gervinho of Lille, JV Skausi, as he's really known, he was really in a dangerous position, and they just couldn't get on the end of it.
Keita went to sleep. I just saw that on a television playback. Instead of rushing in there, he went to Kip. What another great chance that was.
Here come Ivory Coast again, breaking down the right-hand side. Cross comes in, then it's headed in, and they're ahead. Didier Drogba puts Ivory Coast ahead with the header on the 6-yard line, just in the 11th minute. They get the start they wanted. Lovely cross coming in from the right-hand side, and Didier Drogba, his second goal of these finals, makes it Ivory Coast 1, North Korea 0. Game on.
He is to be feared. He is. He's standing in that Pomo position. It might be half a yard offside, but the ball comes in. He gets in between two red shirts of North Korea and heads home handsomely. What a player. You'd want him in your team, whichever team you ever picked, if you could afford him. But he's given them a great opportunity, and they should, John, by right. They should be 3-0 up at this moment.
Well, are they going to continue cutting through them? There was an appeal for a a free kick as Jovino was bundled down, but now it's an opportunity for Korea to break with Jong Tae-se wide on the right hand side, looking for a little bit of support, plays it in, good cross, but good work by the Portuguese defence. Appeals for a free kick, not given, and nobody was following up. There was just one man in that area, I think it was Hong Yong-jo, and nobody else could get near. And now it's Ivory Coast again, moving down the right hand side. Good exchange of passes, chance for another one. Low shot from Jovino. It couldn't get the power on it that he wanted from the edge of the area, and the goalkeeper diving to his right was able to deny him.
They're looking handfuls now, these two strikers in Jovino and Drogba. They're looking a handful. Can they survive this North Korean team? At this moment in time, they must be physically and mentally drained. 7, here we go again. How are we going to stop the Ivory Coast attacking us with the pace that they're producing?
Well, they are moving down the right flank now, and it's lost out by Hong Yong-jo, but it's played inside, neatly hoovered up by the Ivory Coast midfield, and now Ismail Teote plays it across to the right side where Emmanuel Eboué moves forward confidently, looking to see where the options are ahead of him. He just plays it short on that right side to Romerick, who in turn plays it back now to Kolo Touré, and it's almost at walking pace as it's swung all the way over to the left-hand side of this pitch where Carter Kate has come deep, and here he is looking now, a little exchange of passes. He's looking to find an opportunity to make a delivery to that centre area where Didier Drogba waits, but it comes to Boca on the left side. Now a chance again for they've scored a second. They've scored a second, side-footed in by Yaya Touré. Lovely goal, beautiful build-up down the left-hand side. 13 minutes played, Didier Drogba made it 1, and now Yaya Touré has made it Ivory Coast 2, North Korea 0, and they believe, trust me, they believe they can do this.
I trust you, John, I really, really do. This on, but the Koreans now, they are shattered physically and mentally, and Yaya Touré got into that position. Johnny's just side-footed it into the goalkeeper's left-hand side, and it is a peach. It is a peach of a goal. But it's a great build-up there. Great build-up from Ivory Coast, and could have been 4-0, 2-0. Who knows where we're going?
A brilliant start for Ivory Coast here, just what they wanted. We're in the 15th minute, and Ivory Coast leading North Korea by 2-0. Didier Drogba with a header got the first one. Yaya Touré side-footing in after a lovely move down the left-hand side, made it 2-0, and Ivory Coast now are right in control.
Oh, another shot going in there. Yaya Touré, he's really pushing on. They're sensing they've got the bit between the teeth now, and can they force another 1 or 2? And people are in a situation advancing. Here they go, Yaya Touré, but no, wide of that far post.
It was a good shot from Touré. Took it beautifully, didn't he, Yaya Touré, the Barcelona man? It was a lovely shot. There have been talks of him possibly having a move to Manchester City. You can see why he's a really coveted player.
He sits in that midfield. He's big, he's strong, and he anticipated the opportunity there to go forward, pick the ball up on the side of the box, and side foot it into that left-hand side.
And here come Ivory Coast once more, but they lose out in midfield, and now can North Korea try and regain some sort of composure, but it's Boca now who moves forward. The little fullback's into an attacking position, trying to get onto his left foot, trying to pick out Yaya Touré, but was unable to do so.
Boca was magic there. He got forward. They're all getting forward. They can see the opportunity. They can see that the North Koreans could crack, and crack big time.
Headed clear by the Korean defence now. It's moved out in the middle of midfield, and they move it now away down that left flank. Can they manage to put something together here? But Hong Jong-yo, their captain, loses out again. And here come Ivory Coast down the right-hand side, fired in low. And it's been cleared gratefully by a Korean defender, and it's going to be a throw-in on the far side, taken quickly by Carter Keita. And now they've driven in low, and it's off the post! No. Off the post, and they came so close to getting another one there. Romerick down the left-hand side, saw the left-footed shot, come back off the post and away to safety.
He's been an inspiration, Romerick. He really is. He's got a fantastic left foot. He's curled it from wide down the right-hand side, curled it in, and then he's just side-footed it onto the far post. Oh, we could have been 6 minimum at the moment. They've done so well, Ivory Coast, to get where they are. Brilliant football, and a little bit different from yesterday. We seem to be getting games like this, you and me, John.
So they lead by a 0-0. That early goal of Didier Drogba's ruled as offside. That spot which you gave, Bobby, it was indeed flagged. Drogba's shot was given as offside, so they lead through Touré's goal. After that, they lead by a 0-0 through Yaya Touré, and they move now down the right-hand side. And it's Carter Keita who's in that corner, trying to find if he can get the corner, and able to do so, and it goes out for a goal kick.
Well, there was a picture of the goal, and as he came in from the left-hand side, he drifted in, and we thought he'd nonchalantly put the Ivory Coast in front. I'm astounded that it was ruled out. I really am.
Well, that was the way it was, and it was a really bright opening for Ivory Coast. Terrific chance for Keita in the early stages, and then after that it was Drogba who had the ball in the back of the net, but they lead through that goal through Yaya Touré, which was on the edge of the area, rolled in side-footed and taken with real confidence and aplomb. North Korea then have a free kick. It's about 40 yards out in the Portuguese half, and standing over it, it looks as though it's going to be perhaps a shot which is going to be risked here. The Portuguese defence, they've got a wall of 4 men. It's driven in, and the goalkeeper moving to his left, able to take it easily, and the shot was not on target, and it's a comfortable moment for the Ivory Coast goalkeeper, moving to his left, sees it whistle past for a goal kick.
It looks as though the North Koreans looked at the Japanese yesterday, because they're in a situation of taking free kicks from deep now and trying to hit the target. Honda set the ball alight yesterday when he's curled in a great left-footed shot from about 45 yards. And everybody must be watching the videos and saying, well, if Honda can do it, we can do it.
Emmanuel Aboué delivers it short now for Touré, and then back to Aboué just over the halfway line for Ivory Coast. Romerick on that wide right-hand side, and then it's laid back for Zakora, and then played across to Kolo Touré, and then onto this left side. And it's number 13 who brings it forward, Romerick, and lays it inside. Patient build-up from Ivory Coast. It's the little fullback now, Boca, on the left-hand side. Good turn, and a shot, and hits the bar from Drogba. He says that it's gone over, but it's gone in now. The header followed up by number 13, Romerick. It was shades of Jeff Hurst as the ball rebounded down, and Drogba appealed that it had gone over the line, but it was Romerick followed up, who made no doubt, headed it home, and there is no question about this one now. Drogba had it in the goal early on. That was disallowed. Second time it went in through Yaya Touré, and now Romerick has made it 2-0 for Ivory Coast.
You know what? We're prophets, because we knew it was going to be 2-0, because they are playing so well. And for them to knock the offside goal off, well, Drogba is having a nightmare of a time trying to put that ball in the goal. He put it in, ruled offside. This time he's hit the crossbar, and then Romerick there just jumped, standing jump on the 6-yard box and forced it home. Great header, and we and you have got the score right, John, because it is now 2-0.
And it's going to be a fair few more as well, I can assure you of that. I can assure you that's the way it's going to be, because Ivory Coast are absolutely rampant here, and North Korea are not at the races. We've been playing. We've been playing nearly 21 minutes now, and Ivory Coast leading by 1-0. An early goal from Didier Drogba was disallowed for offside. Their second goal came in the 13th minute. Yaya Toure ending a beautiful move, putting it in right-footed, and then in 20 minutes, it drive against the bar from Didier Drogba. It came back, headed in on the rebound by Romerick. Ivory Coast in control, leading 2-0.
Where does the coach go now? Where does Kim Jong-un go? Does he make substitutions? Does he bring one on? Does he bring two on and save somebody? Because they are in a mess.
And almost getting in for number 3 was Didier Drogba as it was played across, free kick from the left-hand side. Drogba got in there. He says that it came off a defender. It's gone behind. He wanted a corner, but the referee said no, it came off your head, and so it's going to be a goal kick.
Oh.
It's going to be a goal kick for North Korea, and I think Drogba was, as we watch a replay, a little bit right to be aggrieved.
Yeah, we've had a close-up there, and John Taysay was definitely the last person to head the ball away from the goal area there, and it was definitely a corner.
Ivory Coast in control, leading by 2-0. Didier Drogba had a goal disallowed in the early stages. Excellent goal, opened the scoring from Yaya Toure, right-footed, culminating a beautiful move from the left-hand side, low into the corner of the net. And then on 20 minutes, a second goal for Ivory Coast. Drogba wrapped a shot against the bar. On the rebound, Romerick headed home to make it 2-0. And I'm sure Ivory Coast are eyeing 7-0 or maybe more. They still believe they can do it.
Oh, there's no doubt about that. They are chasing about this as men that realise that the possibility is still on. The possibility of winning 6, 7, 8, 9.
And here at North Korea, edge of the area, trying to put a move together for themselves. It's Taysay who's been held up, and there's going to be a free kick in a dangerous position, very dangerous position. Right on the edge of the area, Nam Chol was brought tumbling down, and back helping his defence, it was Ismail Toyote who brought him down. Now, this would put the cat among the pigeons if North Korea could get something out of this.
Yes, but the goalkeeper of Boubacar Barry has had very, very little to do. He's lining his wall up. He's on the near post. He's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in the wall, and 5 big lads, really big lads. One turns around to look at the goalkeeper, make sure they've got the wall inch perfect. He goes across to the right hand side. Referee's in the middle trying to make sure that the wall doesn't encroach. He backs away and signals the free kick.
Spanish referee says that all is well, and he sounds his whistle. And now what can North Korea make of this? Free kick 25 yards out, chipped towards the corner. Well, I'll tell you what, it didn't miss by an awful long way. It was the captain Hong Yong-jo who got his shot over the wall, and only just wide of the goal. Had that just been a foot or so to the right, they'd have been back in it.
Boubacar Barry, the goalkeeper, Ivory Coast, was going left. He was going left in his sky blue kit there, sky blue socks, shorts and jersey. He was going left. The ball was going to the way, and no chance on target. That would have been 2-1. But fortunately for Ivory Coast, back in the game and pushing forward.
You're listening to North Korea versus Ivory Coast on Talksport with lowcostholidays.com. Now anyone can go anywhere. If you want to listen to Portugal against Brazil, that continues on 10:53, 10:89 medium wave with Stan Collymore and Jim Proudfoot. That match stands 0-0 at the moment. So as things are unfolding, this is what Ivory Coast want, but that point for Portugal would be enough for them if they can keep that scoreline the same.
Just imagine if things were to go the way you and I would like them to go, and Portugal went out and they'd won a game 7-0, you couldn't believe that. But is it on? Yes, it's on, because these North Koreans are not physically up to what they need to be at this moment in time. And the time left, we got nearly 65, 70 minutes to go.
Little Mun In-guk trying to battle for the corner down the right-hand side. Came off Arthur Booker, he thought, but the referee's assistant rules otherwise and gave the goal kick to Ivory Coast, who now bring it forward with Ismail Teote in the central area, puts it across to the right-hand side to Emmanuel Aboué, and then it's played across the central area to Romerick, forward to Drogba, who lays it back to Boca on the left-hand side now, plays it inside to Romerick, and Boca then just plays it back to Didier Zakora, I beg your pardon, who swings it out down that right side to Keita, who's right in the corner now on the right-hand side. A little bit of trickery from the Galatasaray striker, and he's won himself a corner, I think, down there. He tried to get his cross in right footed, came off the defender. Corner for Ivory Coast.
Straight feet, really feet, good feet, but it's a corner quickly taken short this time.
And it's played in by Romerick, headed clear well, and it's going to be a throw-in for Ivory Coast just near the halfway line. And going across to take it, Tiote, who throws it back to Didier Zakora, who plays his club football for Seville. And he plays it across to the left-hand side where Arthur Boca, the Stuttgart fullback, plays it long towards Drogba, who just needed a little bit of a run of the ball, and it comes away off a Korean defender. It's gone out for a corner.
What skill by Drogba there. The ball is dropping over his left-hand shoulder. He's running to the box. He brings it down with, what a touch with that left foot. He is so lucky not to get it bouncing so he can get a half volley in. But he's got the corner, and it was a wonderful, wonderful piece of football.
Well, Chelsea fans know all about the sort of quality that Didier Drogba brings to a strike force, and he's done everything here this afternoon so far. It's swung across right-footed from Keita. He plays it deep, headed back across the area. Romerick tries to control it on his chest, and able to do so, and now breaking down the left-hand side for North Korea. Hong Jong-jo loses out, and it goes back to a green shirt of the Ivory Coast, who bring it forward patiently once more with Kolo Touré of Manchester City, the big figure, moving just into the North Korean half. Romerick then plays it inside to Ismail Tiote, and then Drogba trying to link up, but the move breaks down, I'm afraid to say, and it was Gervinho who was unable to control it, but they've won it back now on that far side. Are they going to be able to get in some sort of telling delivery now? And there's lots of really good movement from Ivory Coast. The ball's brought forward to the edge of the area, looking to get a cross in, tracking back for North Korea. It's Kwang Chon, and he's done a good job because it's forced right back towards the halfway line for Ivory Coast, and it's with Zakora, who then just plays it to his right to Emmanuel Aboué. It's rolled out to the touchline, and the African fans giving colossal support to Ivory Coast as it's played down that right side by Yaya Touré, and then it's now on the ball Gervinho, back to Yaya Touré, and then to Emmanuel Aboué, and now Ismail Tiote putting the passes together, swung wide onto this left-hand side, but too much on it, I'm afraid to say, and a lovely flowing move ends with the ball going out for a throw-in to North Korea.
Gervinho and Keita are changing quite rapidly. They're going from right to left, and in that they're giving a lot of problems to the North Koreans, and they do look tired, John. I've got to say, North Koreans physically tired and mentally tired. They're taking one battering here at the moment.
But it's still only 2-0. We've been playing 29 minutes. You're listening to North Korea versus Ivory Coast on Talksport with McCoy's Mancris, proud sponsors of Talksport's coverage of the 2010 FIFA World Cup on medium wave 1089, 1053. It continues Portugal and Brazil with Jim Proudfoot and Stan Collymore, and in that match there are no goals so far. So as things stand, Brazil and Portugal would go through, but Brazil will fancy their chances, of course, as the tournament favourites of winning that match, and that would leave it all to play for here. And Ivory Coast, remember, have to score goals and keep on scoring plenty of them. They've got to maintain their composure, maintain their shape, and keep putting the North Koreans under pressure. Here's Romerick bringing it forward to the left-hand side of the area. He's got two defenders tracking back, and he loses out as he tries to steer it back to Yaya Touré. Romerick, who'd made that break down the left-hand side, and now it's back with North Korea. An Yon-hak played it inside, and they bring it out of the defensive position through Moon In-guk down the right-hand side. He lays it back, and it's played across the back line a little bit dangerously, and played forward long towards Jong Tai-se, and the big Ivory Coast defenders, they won it, but the flag had gone up anyway, and it's going to be a free kick for Ivory Coast, who lead by by 2-0.
Well, what the Ivory Coast have got to do, John, they got to press really high. What we say when they press, if a defender gets it, he's attacked immediately by a green and white shirt. Put them under pressure, win the ball back in that last third, and you'll create more opportunities.
Here they come again down the right-hand side. Ivory Coast, the cross comes in. Oh, terrific first-time volley, but wide of the target. Hit by Carter Cater, right-footed from about 10 yards out on the angle, but couldn't quite find the target.
Well, they've got that width, they've got the crossing. Carter Cater on the back post, volley. What a shape of a volley. That was a super attempt. Good balance on his left foot. Spins and just misses that near post. Goalkeeper well beaten.
Well, that was a lovely move. Ivory Coast surely are going to score more goals here. We'll hear now how the other match is going on, being played at the same time, Portugal and Brazil.
Goalless here in Durban between Brazil and Portugal, a game which hasn't really lived up to its billing so far. Neither goalkeeper has had a notable save to make. There have already been 3 yellow cards. Remember, those can tot up as the tournament goes on. Juan possibly lucky to escape only a yellow for a deliberate handball which stopped Ronaldo getting free down the right-hand side. It has been all Brazil in the opening 25 minutes, but chances have largely been restricted by this very defensive Portuguese formation, and they haven't found a way through. Portugal, I'm sure, though, will have one eye on that scoreline with the Ivory Coast already 2 goals to the good. 0-0 here in Durban, though.
And the scoreline here remains Ivory Coast 2, North Korea 0. That report brought to you from Durban by Jim Proudfoot. And commentary continues with Talksport on medium wave, 10:53 and 10:89. Here on digital, the North Koreans bring it forward through Cha Jong-hok. Plays it forward to Jong Tae-se, and it's laid out to the left-hand side. At last, maybe a chance for them to create something here, but the cross comes in. Oh, I tell you what, the goalkeeper almost took that out of his area. Coming charging out, Boubacar Barry. He's played it long up towards Didier Drogba, who's taken a tumble. He's back on his feet trying to put the Korean defence under pressure, but they bring it out through Cha Jong-hok, who lays it back now to An Young-hak, and it's played across the back line and brought out down the left-hand side by Ri Jung-il. And North Korea survived that one, and just for a moment it looked as though the goalkeeper had made an awful blunder there. The Ivory Coast keeper, Boubacar Barry, almost took the ball out of his own area.
He did. All of a sudden he realised he was going out, his momentum was taking him forwards, and that sky blue shirt came out of the penalty area. He dropped the ball just on the line and then whipped it away down to Drogba as far as he possibly could, because if he'd have touched it again with his hands, definite free kick.
Free kick, though, as it was for North Korea, taken quickly in the centre circle and played out to the right-hand side where Cha Jong-hok plays it forward, and it comes back off an Ivory Coast green shirt. Teote lays it back to Boca, who in turn loses out, and now can North Korea build something here on the right-hand side. It's Jong Tae-se tussling, trying to get the corner, manages to get a left foot cross in. The header goes in near post, but it couldn't be directed by the diminutive figure of Moon In-guk, and it has gone out onto that far side where it's being collected by the goalkeeper, but it was a purposeful sort of break by Jong Tae-se.
He's very, very strong. He did a Johan Cruyff, and when I was saying Johan Cruyff, he went to cross it and pulled it back behind his left standing leg and whipped the cross in, and that little player for North Korea,
Moon In-guk, who stands about 5'3",
he got a header, and the header was about 3 inches off the ground, and it just whistled past that far post. So a fabulous move by Jong Tae-se.
No small man syndrome for him either.
No,
he's reckoned to be very gentlemanly and quietly spoken. He's not one of these aggressive little fellas.
You're talking about me now? Or?
No, you're not a little fella. You're a sizable sort of man, Bobby.
Yeah, but I got a bit of a temper though, John.
Well, I'll bear that in mind as he looks across to me rather menacingly. Arthur Boca down the left-hand side for Ivory Coast, and then it's swung all the way across to Emmanuel Aboué down that right side. He plays it inside to Yaya Touré, who opened the scoring for Ivory Coast. Nice build-up here from the Ivory Coast, putting their passes together well. And on the right-hand side, it's Romerick who plays it back inside to Aboué, who just ran into a red shirt. It was altogether too intricate and a bit too close, and
John,
they had men there,
John,
but just couldn't spread it.
Touch. They should have been popping it round, and then playing it wide. Somebody making a run. They were too static then, and that's the first time we've seen them static. And if they can outplay, they can outpass the North Koreans. They're physically stronger than them, and they've got to utilise that. They have still got a great chance, but they're just slipping away in the last 10-15 minutes, the Ivory Coast.
Here's the playmaker, Hong Yong-jo for North Korea, who places across to the right-hand side in the Ivory Coast half to Cha Jong-hok. Puts in a cross which goes straight to the goalkeeper, Barry, too close to him, and now Ivory Coast come down this left-hand side. It's laid back by Carter Keita to Ismail Teote. And now across the back line as it's played by Didier Zikora out to Emmanuel Aboué, and now we see if Ivory Coast can get their passes together a little bit more effectively here. It was aimed through to Didier Drogba, who has now capitalised on a bit of sloppy defending. He's on the right hand side looking to see if there's any support. There's none there for him at the moment. Drogba's got two defenders right behind him, and he comes past them. He's into the area, narrow angle, but he's got no support. He needed somebody demanding the ball, and there was nobody there with him, and quite rightly Drogba's turning round and saying, look, I've beaten two men, what more can I do? I'm on a narrow angle, I can't shoot, I need some support, and it wasn't there.
Sheer brilliance. That was sheer wonderful brilliance. I'd love to show that to youngsters, take a video of that, run it and run it and run it again, but once again sloppy thinking. Jovino wasn't there and Carter Keita wasn't there. Why didn't they get in the box? Magnificent.
Didier Drogba might be 6'2", but has such wonderful touch, doesn't he? For a big man on the ground, 32 years old, it might be that we don't see him in another World Cup, but goodness me, he is such a consummate professional, wonderful footballer.
Oh yeah, we just saw a replay of it. It was fantastic skill. A roll over, there's four legs in and around him with two players, and he went past them. They just weren't there.
Down the left-hand side for Ivory Coast then, for Carter Keita. Then played back inside for Romerick now, who's on a little bit of a run, trying to get into a shooting position, right-hand side of the area, but all the defenders were back en masse, and he has to check and play it back to Jovino, out to the right-hand side. Another little ball into the box, got just wide of the far post from Jovino, and it was agonisingly wide. The goalkeeper beaten, missed that far post by no more than a foot or so, and Ivory Coast come desperately close to getting a third.
They're all over the place, John. The defenders, they're so tired. Physically and mentally, they see the run, they can't get there, they just pass the ball through them. Jovino there, he's just going to hit that back post. Oh my, what a great chance.
He should have scored then,
yeah,
no question. I think it might even have just grazed the post.
Yeah, if he bends it with the outside of his foot, then it goes into that, nestles in that far corner.
They still lead by 2-0. Yaya Toure in the 13th minute, Romerick in the 20th. Didier Drogba's had one disallowed, and they're just grazing the post. Jovino, it could easily have been 4 or more for Ivory Coast, and now they come forward again down the left-hand side, battling for it. Ismail Teote of 20 Enschede, and he plays it forward towards Drogba, and also battling for it up there is Romerick, but it comes back to a red shirt of North Korea, and they do, as Bobby was saying, look desperately tired, and a free kick has been given. They couldn't control it, and there was an infringement spotted by the Spanish referee, that it's going to be on this near side, I beg your pardon, a throw-in taken by Arthur Boca, who plays it back to Yaya Toure, scorer of the first goal, and it's lazily put across to the far side to Arsenal's Emmanuel Aboué, and there's good movement again here from Ivory Coast, and we just wait to see just how they're going to slice their way through this North Korean defence, as they surely will. You sense, you must believe that there are more goals here for Ivory Coast. North Korea look pretty much a spent force. This is not the team who managed that opening game 2-1 against Brazil. Maybe the same in terms of personnel, but not in terms of the performance they're delivering. They're back in numbers, and they deny as he comes bursting through Jovino, and the referee has made his decision and suggests, I think, that there was an offside as the ball came through, and it's going to be a free kick to be taken for North Korea by their goalkeeper.
Yes, it's like they're just cutting through them so easily. coach Kim Jong-un has got some work to do at half-time. He's 5 minutes away. If he can get them in there at 2-0, he'll be a lucky man, because it could have been 4, 5 and 6 and building. At that, what do you do for substitutions? Where do you go? Who do you bring on? Because he's been very, very loyal to the team that he selected to start this game, as they finished on a 7-0 defeat, and it could be well into that by the time we've got into the dressing room.
Emmanuel Aboué plays it out to the right side for Ivory Coast, and there's a little bit of trickery from the winger, who cuts back and is looking for a little bit of support, and it's played all the way back to Yaya Touré, and it's spread to the left-hand side now through Arthur Boca. He lays it up inside and checked back by Yaya Touré once more, and now coming forward it's Kolo Touré who plays it to the right-hand side, and Emmanuel Aboué's made a run there, forward move, here he is, edge of the area, manages to get his cross, manages to get a ball through, but there's been a foul committed by Yaya Touré one way or another. But they were so close to just cutting their way through once again.
Yeah, it was an offside, John.
Was it?
Yeah, definitely an offside. As he flicks the ball over to Yaya Touré, Aboué chips it in, and Yaya Touré got into the advanced space, and the linesman on that right-hand side, who's been one of the busiest people on the pitch, he's been signalling offsides all game.
He was acrobatically going for that one, Yaya Touré. Boot was somewhere up around the head of the defender. I thought it might have been foot up when I first saw it, but anyway, the play is underway, and Ivory Coast back in possession, brought across the halfway line by Romerick, played wide onto the right to Kader Keita. Now can he produce a little bit more trickery down that right flank? Instead he lays it back to Yaya Touré, who plays it across to the left hand side to the fullback Arthur Boca, and he's looking for movement up ahead of him, finds Didier Drogba, who tries to play a first-time ball to Javinho, and there were 7 North Korean defenders back in that area, and they managed to get it clear, but Boca is trying to close down Muninguk, and he's won a throw-in, has he? He has indeed, and it's taken quickly by Didier Drogba, back on the edge of the area now, and moving forward, it's Romerick, who plays it to Yaya Touré, coming up from a deep position, in support, the shot comes in from the right-hand side from Aboué, over the bar, couldn't find the target, but Ivory Coast still only 2-0 up. It could easily have been more. It's 0-0 in the other match.
They're chasing shadows. They really, really are. The ball's moving around. They're not even moving it quickly. But the North Koreans, they can't get there physically. They cannot get anywhere near this Ivory Coast team. And the opportunities and goal-scoring chances they've had have just been phenomenal. I thought there was nearly a penalty there as one of the defenders went down and the ball rolled along his body up towards his arm, and Didier Drogba was appealing for it as well.
But not given, and play continues. We've got 2 minutes of normal time here. You're listening to North Korea versus Ivory Coast on Talksport with Mercedes-Benz vans that accept no substitutes. And if you want to hear that Portugal versus Brazil match, that continues on medium wave 1053, 1089 with Stan Collymore and Jim Proudfoot. Here on digital, it's myself, John Rawling, and Bobby Gould watching Ivory Coast completely dominate North Korea, but only with 2 goals to show for that dominance so far through Yaya Touré and Romerick. And here they come again. It's played through long down the left hand side to Didier Drogba, who controls it with the outside of his right foot, feints to play the cross in, now does, the header comes in, it's taken by the goalkeeper, just manages to keep it on the right side of the line, and Javinho's header tested him. Lovely work again though from Drogba.
He really impresses me, because he puts himself about Drogba. He can be a target man, he can drift into the channel, and when he does, he delivers a service. He's not greedy today, playing with his fellow teammates and the national team. He gets out there and he gives a shift that is second to none, and he wears that captain's armband with great pleasure.
Emmanuel Aboué and Kader Keita down the right side. It's played through now into the area, and they're looking for the corner. It was breaking through into the area, Kader Keita, and I think they have won the corner.
Oh yeah, definitely, John. He was going to cross it. He realised the defender had touched it, and he just let it roll over the goal line there on the right hand side.
Can Ivory Coast get another goal before the half-time interval to reflect their total dominance of this match? 4 corners they've had, none for North Korea so far, and in terms of possession, Ivory Coast have had vastly the bulk of it, and Didier Drogba is up there on the line waiting for this one to be crossed. It comes across from Romerick, but it's headed clear, but only as far as a Ivory Coast shirt. But I think the whistle has gone for half-time, no added time being played whatsoever, and so that's the way it is at half-time. Ivory Coast leading North Korea by 2-0. Yaya Toure getting the opener, Romerick the second after Didier Drogba's shot had rebounded off the bar. He headed home the second. It could easily have been more, Bobby Gould.
It's been men against boys, John, there's no doubt about that. They have been so powerful, so commanding, and they've really approached it in a magnificent way, the Ivory Coast. We thought they were going to come up against a difficult opponent, but they are so tired physically and mentally, the North Koreans. The manager has got a lot to do. He's got a lot of convincing to do. The players will go out there, they'll be shell-shocked, North Koreans. They've got to dig deep, they've got to find some energy, and they've got to find some spirit from somewhere, because at this rate it could still build up to a big score against them.
Well, there's got to be, there's got to still be the outside chance of this turnaround coming, because Brazil have dominated the match against Portugal in Durban. At half-time there, it's 0-0. But even allowing for that, if Brazil were to go on and win, say by 1-0, it is not impossible that Ivory Coast could get another 4, 5, 6, even more in the second half, because North Korea will be absolutely on the rack.
Oh yeah, you just wish when you're in football, like Sven-Göran Eriksson will go in there, he'll say to his players, well played, you've done a great job, but now we've got to be in a position, we still want more. Keep it simple. They haven't complicated the game, John. Ivory Coast, they've been very, very simple.
Didier Drogba, excellent half he had. Excellent. Attacking, delivering, leading, inspiring. Yeah. He's been exemplary.
It really, really has, and it's a credit to himself, John, and that is a professional compliment to him. He's a credit to himself.
Ivory Coast, we're told, statistically had 67% of possession, 14 shots on goal, 10 of them on target, and they have that totally reflects their absolute dominance, the word I've used repeatedly in this first half commentary, but that's how it's been. It's been all Ivory Coast. They lead by 2-0 at half-time. Yaya Toure getting the first on the 13th minute, beautifully taken, right-footed into the corner of the net, and then in the 20th minute it was Drogba's shot which rebounded to Romerick. He headed home, and at half-time, Ivory Coast 2, North Korea 0. The Spanish referee brings the two sides together, and play is now underway as North Korea kick off in their red shirts. They're playing from right to left as we look at it in front of a virtually sold out Nilsbrut Stadium. 45,000 or thereabouts watching this one. The vast majority of them, of course, supporters of Ivory Coast, who now move forward for the first time down the left-hand side, and a good run into the area. Can they bring it back? It's aimed at Drogba, and going through there, there's an appeal for a penalty at an Ivory Coast man's gone down, and the referee, what's he given here? The goalkeeper's down as well, Myong-guk. And the man who went through on the goalkeeper was Carter Keita, and I think surely he's not going to give a penalty here, is he?
No, his hand went straight up
the other way.
His hand went, the referee's hand has gone straight up in the air. Carter Keita gets in on that right hand side, checks backwards and forward, tries to get it'll be a free kick on the goalkeeper. There was a foot there. I think it was. Yes, there's a definite foot there.
Well, he's gone in foot up, hasn't he? And the goalkeeper had committed himself. He'd gone down, and there was a collision. It wasn't deliberate, but as we watch the replay there, we can see that Carter Keita did go in heavily on the goalkeeper, and both of them are needing some treatment.
Yeah, well, if I was the North Korean keeper, and you're going to be in a position to be under constant pressure, he's enjoying a moment.
Having a lie down.
Yeah, he is, yeah. Make it last as long as possible.
Can't say I blame him. Ri Myong-guk has had a tough sort of tournament, hasn't he? He's been picking it out of his own net a little bit more than he would have wished. Twice against Brazil, 7 times against Portugal, and twice already against the Ivory Coast. He's taken a bang, I think, on his right thigh. I don't know if he got a bit of a dead leg as he went down, but he's got up a little bit gingerly. There are North Koreans potential substitutes who are warming up. Oh dear me, and he got a clatter on the left-hand side of his head as well as we watched a replay as Carter Cater came in. That would hurt.
Yeah, that would, but he's up, he's moving about, and you wouldn't want to come off in a World Cup game, would you? No matter whether you're winning, losing or whatever. It's something you might never ever repeat in your footballing life again.
He was the North Korean League's Player of the Year. He's only 23 years old. Ri Myung-guk. You don't feel pain when you're 23. And now here come Ivory Coast again, trying to break down the right-hand side. There's two defenders back. Carter Cater trying to get round the back of him, but the North Koreans, well, it's a signal by the assistant, which has gone against Carter Cater, I think, and it's going to be a free kick for North Korea, deep inside their own half on the left-hand side, to be taken by Kwang Chun. And he plays it inside, and the build-up is an intricate one, but they bring it forward. 4 passes so far as it's moved down the left-hand side, but as it crosses the halfway line, the interception made by Ismail Tiote, and now it is Yaya Toure who plays it across to the left-hand side, where little Arthur Booker loses out in possession, but the referee says that the challenge from John Taisei was an illegal one, and it's going to be a free kick for Ivory Coast.
John Taisei, he's not had much joy going forward. He's worked back. He's the lone striker. They've got 5 in midfield, the North Koreans, and in a back line of 4.
Abdul Kader Keita of Galatasaray on the right-hand side loses out again, but the referee has blown for a free kick, I think, and Keita will take this one. They could do with getting an early goal in this second half, Ivory Coast, to really get the North Koreans onto the back foot once again and give a sense of belief throughout the Ivory Coast, the African team, that they can start to score the goals that they need. Remember, they need this big goal turnaround. They've got to get somewhere around replicating the 7 goals that Portugal got. Swung across onto the back post, and he had time. Kolo Toure got up there, and I don't think he realised how much time he got. He just played it right-footed straight into the arms of the goalkeeper. It came off his thigh, I think, or his knee.
John, that's the first time we've seen him, really, Kolo Toure. He's gone forward, he goes forward a lot for Arsenal, but there, got into a great position, and he just didn't knock it back across the goal.
Kolo Toure had his chance there and wasn't able to do anything with it, but Ivory Coast have possession again. Romerick plays it forward, and it's moved forward into the North Korean half, but they lose out as Yaya Toure tried to thread it through, and it's driven away clear down the right-hand side for North Korea. Jong Taisei's tracked back there, and he's in possession now, just inside the Portuguese half. It's played forward to the captain, Yong Jo, who can't control it, and it comes back with Ivory Coast once more. This is Yaya Toure, who plays it to the right flank for Emmanuel Eboué, and then for Carter Cater. Emmanuel Eboué wanted the return ball. Carter Cater cuts inside, and then a lovely little back heel to Yaya Toure. Crosses to the far post, but too much on it, and it was Gervinho there who tried to get in at the far post, and the ball whistles over his head.
Good ball there, but Gervinho there just came in on the back post and couldn't make contact. Little good interplay there, lovely back heel into the space and across delivered. And that's more like it, better quality, more crosses.
They're still in possession, the Ivory Coast, and it's Emmanuel Eboué who's feinting to go past the defender, plays it inside to Gervinho, then shoots left-footed from the edge of the area over the bar.
Yeah, Emmanuel Eboué's going forward there. They are playing good quality football in the attacking third, but it's not the finishing product. They've got to make sure they hit the target, and one might come off the keeper, somebody following up, a natural predator, and that's another goal. But they must concentrate on hitting the goal frame.
You're listening to North Korea versus Ivory Coast on Talksport with Mars. Work, rest and play for England, and it's North Korea 0, Ivory Coast 2, and in the other match being played in Durban, Portugal 0, Brazil 0, and you can follow commentary of that one on our medium wave outlet on 1053, 1089 medium wave. Meantime, you're listening with myself, John Rawling, and Bobby Gould on digital to North Korea and Ivory Coast, and and Ivory Coast are in possession again. It's moved down the left-hand side. It's Romerick who cuts back, delivers it to Yaya Toure, who got the first goal. Now onto the right-hand side to Carter Keita, tries to get it onto his left foot, a little bit of trickery, lays it back, and Carter Keita wants the return ball. Emmanuel Eboué, though, has got round behind his man. He goes past another, drives in his cross, and somehow it's cleared. Brilliant. Comes as far as Yaya Toure. Lovely work from Eboué, almost created the opening. Now back in possession once more with Ivory Coast, but now it's broken down. But what a lovely little bit of work down that right flank from Eboué.
Well, that's twice they've got there, but there's a counter-attack on with the North Koreans.
Maybe a chance here. It's driven in at the near post, but well held by the goalkeeper. It was that irrepressible striker for North Korea who has so much self-belief, and I have to say no measure of fitness either. No small measure of fitness. He's really kept going, and he drove in his shot. Jong Tai-se, well held by the goalkeeper. But here's Ivory Coast again with Yaya Toure midway into the Korean half, plays it to the fullback Arthur Boca on the left-hand side. What can the little man do? He plays it down the left side to Jovino, who tried to turn it inside. He was looking for Drogba, but a clearance came in, and then eventually it was headed all the way back from a Portuguese defender all the way forward to the North Korean goalkeeper Myong-guk, who now collects it and suggests to his players that he's going to punt this one deep into the far side, which he duly does. Interesting sort of dance on the far side, where a lot of people seem to have turned their back to the camera and are doing what in Australian parlance would almost be mooning.
John, you've got to say, no, they've still got their clothes on, though.
They have, thank goodness. There's a gentleman there with a large padded sort of what would you call it? A coat, which makes him look as though he weighs about 45 stone, and on the back of it he's got it written Papa Elephant.
Papa Elephant.
Well, here in Carnival Manor, it might be the last time that we see Ivory Coast in this World Cup, unless they can score more goals and unless something changes in the other match in Durban, where it's still 0-0. Tai-se tries to play it through, but the flag stayed down. He played it through to An Yong-hak, who sprung the offside trap, but it was just delivered through a bit too strongly by Jong Tai-se, and it's gone through for a goal kick for the Ivory Coast.
That's the first time we've seen An Yong-se in the game. He's not had a kick all afternoon. He's been there 54 minutes. But once again, here they come, Ivory Coast down the right-hand side.
Eboué puts it to Carter Keita, whose cross was a decent one, but it's headed clear, good defensive header, and now they bring it out once more with Pang Nam Chol, and onto the left-hand side to Jong Tai-se. He plays it back inside to Hong Yong-jo, and now it's Jong Tai-se again, moving in from the left-hand side, spreading it across to the right wing, where there is nobody within 20 yards of where he put his pass.
Inexperience there by the centre-forward, Jong Tai-se, and he showed his rawness there. Yeah, he has ability, but that has to be nurtured, and if he plays with better players, he might just progress a long way.
Sven-Göran Eriksson with his £2 million paycheck. He's just holding the side of the technical area, watching events unfold, and it's going to be another corner on this side to be taken by Carter Keita, Abdul Carter Keita. I think Kolo Toure is coming up from the back as well. Kolo Toure, the Manchester City defender. There's the big commanding figure of Didier Drogba as well. Now, can they find the right delivery? Romerick takes it, and a header comes in wide of the target from Didier Drogba. Diving header. He was looking for the top corner, and he wants the ball back. Was it deflected?
It's knocked down. He gets his dive. He is so brave there. He's about to have his head launched off his shoulders, but he's got in there. Diving header. Fortunately, goes wide of the far post.
It was Pak Chol Jin's boot which almost connected with his head.
Nearly packed him in the face.
But it was a goal kick for North Korea, and it's brought down the right flank. Pak Nam Chol just lays it back now, and it's played across to the left-hand side, where it's number 8, Ji Yun Nam, who plays it inside to his midfield, where they lose possession once more. Now for the countless attacking opportunities we've had for Ivory Coast, they bring it forward again. Down the left-hand side, Jovino has the ball, plays it out to the fullback, Boca, and he tried to chip it through. It came back off a North Korean head, and now Korea bring it out under pressure. But they perhaps have a chance to build something here with Pak Nam Chol. It's played out to the right-hand side and then move forward into the Portuguese half. We've not really had a clear scoring opportunity for North Korea so far, and we're not going to get one now because that move breaks down. Tried to play it down to the right winger and couldn't find a way, and now they bring it forward again, Ivory Coast. And are they going to be able to develop this one? It's Romerick, who Bobby Gould said he liked the look of in that first half, the Sevilla midfielder. He just plays it back, and now on this right-hand side now with Carter Keita. Emmanuel Aboué was in a forward position, but instead they play it across to the central midfield area where Yaya Touré takes it, and it almost finds a way through, but unable to do so. They were back almost every man behind the ball. There was only one man left up front, and that was Jong Tae-se. And now here come North Korea with Pak Chol-jin, played down the right side, and it's Hong Yong-jo who's on the edge of the area, the captain. It's laid back, but he can't find the delivery that he wanted, and it's back with Ivory Coast again on the right hand side, and they come forward powerfully, full of resolve. Carter Keita advancing on the area, a little bit of trickery from him, trying to find his way into a shooting position. There were 6 Korean defenders blocking his way to the goal. He spread it out left to Jovino, and it was a poor delivery.
Jovino, it bounced just in front of him. He couldn't get hold of it, but he's got nice feet there. Carter Keita there, he stepped over, rolled it over, but it's just like in the old British scene where you used to have the reserves against the first team and just playing 1/3. That's all this game's been virtually, but at least now Korea are trying to get forward.
Jong Tae-se from a narrow angle tried a first time shot and couldn't get anything like what he hoped for. If you saw that goal from Maicon when Brazil scored in the opening fixture, it was a narrow sort of angle, but I'm afraid he didn't find the sort of technique that the Brazilian fullback did, and he skewed his shot far wide of the far post. And now Ivory Coast bring it forward once more. Aboué played it back inside and now gets the return pass, and now it's Yaya Touré who plays it forward. It comes back onto the right wing to Aboué, and then he plays it back to Yaya Touré, crosses it right-footed behind Didier Drogba. Drogba tried to get the control, unable to do so, and Bobby gesticulating as much as to say he'd like to see a few more of the Ivory Coast midfield players getting up in support, I suspect.
Spot on, John. Jovino there didn't encroach. He hung out, and if you're going to get goals, you've got to put yourself in the penalty area. Anticipate and put yourself in there.
Jong Tae-se back heel, and they tried to play it through from An Yong-hak, and it's come off the diminutive figure of Mun In-guk. He couldn't find the control he wanted, and it's gone out for a goal kick for Ivory Coast. In fact, offside's been given, so it's going to be the free kick just outside the area to be taken by the goalkeeper Babacar Barry. Ivory Coast leading by 2-0. We've been playing almost an hour here. Goals early on in the 13th minute, Yaya Touré. In the 20th minute, Romerick. In the other match, it's still Portugal 0, Brazil 0. So the Portuguese and the Brazilians would qualify for the last 16 unless something changes. And here it's got to change big time.
John, I'm just getting a gut feeling now. I'm just looking at the Ivory Coast lads. Have they got it in them? I don't think they've got that inner belief now. They've slowed the pace of the game down. There's no overlapping, and what I mean by that, play the ball wide, then overlap. Run outside him. Don't run inside him because you're easily picked off. If you run outside him, you create space. They're just knocking the ball about. They're going through the motions. And for me, I get very sad at this because I believe that they have it in them to score more goals, but they're not going about it in the right manner.
Arthur Bocker, the left back, plays the ball long, aiming towards Drogba. Drogba was unable to get on the end of it. It came across to the right-hand side where Carter Keita did just about manage to keep it in play, and it's been put out for a throw-in by Ji Yun Nam, and it will be taken on this near side by Keita. He's looking for movement in the area. In the end, he plays it back behind him towards Aboué, and then back to Zakora, played inside and then chipped forward towards Drogba, headed clear by the North Korean defence. Even Drogba doesn't look as though he's playing with quite the same spring in his heels that he was in that first half, and Ivory Coast have given away a free kick. 30 minutes remaining. They might need new blood, the Ivory Coast. They've got Solomon Kalou on the bench, maybe the Chelsea man who's had such a, fairly abject sort of World Cup so far. Maybe he might be introduced at some stage.
Well, he made a few comments. I'm not sure whether Sven-Göran Eriksson thought they were plaudits towards his team. He knocked his teammates and himself to be honest, but saying that the pressure had got to them and they hadn't responded. It's such a shame because you would love some of these players to be out there, especially Drogba, who is a handful at any stage, but he has had no chances whatsoever.
Left-footed cross from the fullback. Arthur Bocker almost found Didier Drogba, who was up above the North Korean central defenders. It was swung across from the left-hand side after a wonderful crossfield ball from Yaya Toure, and Drogba did just manage to make glancing contact, but he was under pressure. The goalkeeper had made his charge off the line as well, and Drogba unable to find the target.
Oh yes,
there we are.
Oh, well named. Well done, John.
Salomon Kalou is going to be brought in.
Are you telepathic with Sven?
Oh yeah, we get on very well, me and Sven, similar interests.
You be careful on that statement.
Moving down the right-hand side now, it's Yaya Toure who threads a ball through. It was aimed towards Jovino, who'd made a crossfield run into the area, but intercepted by the North Korean defence. And it's a free kick given just inside the Ivory Coast half for North Korea, as Salomon Kalou awaits his entry, and he is going to be moving into, and I think Din Dan is warming up as well. It might be a double substitution here. It is a final roll of the dice, an attacking roll of the dice from Sven-Göran Eriksson.
Well, these are the two players he dropped, weren't they? Didan, the Portsmouth lad, I saw a couple of times last season, played for Portsmouth. Kalou scored goals. Who's he going to take off? I just think, John, I think they need 4 forwards now. I'd play 2 wide and 2 through the middle and take off a midfield player or defender. That'd be interesting.
Emmanuel Aboué on the edge of the area, plays it out to Carter Cater, drives it in low and Jovino almost got on the end of it but couldn't do so. The delivery from the right side was a brilliant one, and the reaction of Carter Cater as he saw that wonderful cross wasn't converted suggests that he believes that Jovino could have done better.
Yeah, he's not a natural goal scorer, John, I've got to say, Jovino. He might be energetic and play outside the box, but once he gets inside the box, he hasn't got that ability to stick the ball in the back of the net.
I think that he might be one of the players who's going to make way. Didier Drogba saying, well played, you've done your best, and he is going to play no further part. Din Dan is coming on, and also coming off is Carter Cater.
I would have kept him on.
Well, Din Dan is replacing him, and Jovino is off, and so Kalou has come on. So it's not really quite the attacking throw of the dice that you'd hope for.
Definitely not. It's like for like. Like for like, straight swaps. But for me, put another goal scorer up there alongside Drogba and let him batter and knock them about. And that's what he has at Chelsea. He has two wide men, but also Frank Lampard gets in there, and that's where Frank gets a lot of his goals from.
No, I thought Carter Cater was playing okay. Let's see what Din Dan can do now. Yeah. He's in possession. He rolls it inside to Tiote, and then it's played back to Toure, who rolls it out to the right-hand side to Emmanuel Aboué. Now with Din Dan again. Aboué, the North Korean defenders back en masse, trying to get themselves between the Ivory Coast players and goal. They're all getting behind the ball, but now it's a run through from deep, played out to the right-hand side to Din Dan, who a little bit of trickery. Can the Portsmouth man find the cross he wants, but he's bundled over a little bit unceremoniously, and the free kick doesn't come, and it goes out for a goal kick. And good defensive work by Jin Yun Nam for North Korea. I'm a bit surprised he took Carter Cater off, because he was doing well down that flank.
I'm just trying to get into his thoughts, into Sven-Göran Eriksson's thought. Why when somebody's getting, he just got a great cross in down that right hand side, and then he drags him off and he puts like for like. You have to do something completely different that gives the North Koreans another problem.
Well, it just all seems a bit formulaic, doesn't it? And Cater was doing okay down that right flank, but anyway.
Yeah, but you can't,
we're sitting here commentating and he's making the decisions, but you wonder.
And he's making millions more as well.
Certainly than I am. I don't know about you. I wouldn't like to judge on what you're being paid, Bobby. But here come the Ivory Coast again. Yaya Toure, middle of the half, tried a long-range shot, but it was blocked by by Pak Nom Chol, and then eventually hacked clear by the central defender Kwang Chon, and it's played forward to the right hand side where Chong Tai Se has backed up deep to come in search of the ball. He's been upended, and it's going to be a free kick for North Korea, and it looked as though it was Didier Zakora who's committed the foul.
It's the first time you have mentioned Zakora in the game.
Well, he's not been needed, has he? Apart from when he's come forward.
No, he hasn't been. Yeah.
Kolo Toure likewise.
Yeah, and it's amazing. You get to like 66 minutes. Substitution there for the North Koreans. Number 12 on, number 11 off.
Right. Well, number 11 off is the little man Moon In-guk, and it's a striker who's come on. Cho Kum Chol, 23 years old. Let's see what he can do. But here come Ivory Coast on the edge of the area, spread out wide to Dindan, feints to go down towards the byline, instead checks back. It plays it across the line, and it's a shooting opportunity. Maybe it's blocked though, and it comes back to Yaya Toure, who in turn plays it back to Tiote, left hand side, driven in low, good shot, and it was hit really firmly by Romerick, and diving to his left, Myong-guk did enough. It was a terrific strike though from all of 25 yards out, and Myong-guk did well.
I like him, lovely left foot, sweet left foot. Not been involved so much the second half, but once he saw those goalposts, he really hammered that ball towards them.
He's a threat from set pieces, he can be, Romerick, and you can see why he's got that really sweet left foot, as Bobby was telling you about. Plays for Sevilla in the Spanish league, and he's played well here this afternoon, but not enough so far as a group exercise for Ivory Coast. They lead by 2-0 in the match in Durban. It's still Brazil 0, Portugal 0. Here's a little fullback moving into a shooting position for Ivory Coast, Arthur Boca, and it was way over the bar, and not quite the left foot that we'd seen from Romerick earlier on. Boca puts it way over the bar. Romerick hits it so well.
Technique, brilliant technique. Keeper parries it. None of the keepers, John, the JKs, are handling it. They're not holding the ball, they're just parrying it away. I was a little bit disappointed in Arthur then. Isn't it nice to have an English name like that, Arthur Boca. What a good little fullback. He's tenacious, gets forward, but he should take lessons from Romerick there, how to hit the ball at goal.
So a name which has gone out of fashion a little bit in the game, isn't it? Arthur Albiston, remember him? Arthur Rowe going a bit further back. He was a player.
What about Arthur Rowley?
Arthur Rowley, another one. Yeah. There's been some good Arthurs, and he's playing left back for Ivory Coast, and Ivory Coast now bring it forward in their own half. It's laid back, and now it was good work from the substitute, Kum Chol, and here he is in the area trying to put the Ivory Coast defence under pressure, but at least he got into an advanced position.
Yeah, first time the goalkeeper's touched the ball for a long while there. Boubacar Barry not had very much to do, really, to be perfect honest. They've dominated, but they haven't opened them up. They haven't opened them up second half whatsoever. Whether that's belief that they're not going to do it, but you can never stop believing as a professional footballer.
Substitutions haven't done a lot so far. No. Dindan's not been as effective down the right hand side as Carter Keita was, and we've seen nothing of Salomon Kalou so far.
Well, he's made statements, hasn't he, over the last 24 hours, and he's said things, and you put pressure on yourself sometimes, John. Sometimes it's best to zip it, get out there and play to the best of your ability.
The sun has set. We have a full moon over the Nelspruit Stadium. The floodlights are on, and down the right wing it's Aruna Dindan of Portsmouth, right in the corner, loses out. The assistant says that's no free kick. Protests from Dindan, but it's brought clear by North Korea and played long down the left hand side towards Chong Tai Se, and he was nowhere near getting on the end of that one, and it comes forward again for Ivory Coast. Kolo Toure plays it short to Yaya Toure, central area of the midfield. It just rolls it to Romerick, who's got that sweet left foot, who gives the return ball to Yaya Toure, who's strolling around looking for the correct delivery, and he does manage to find it through to Kalou. Goalkeeper can't hold the shot, but at the second attempt he does gratefully clasp it to his chest.
Yeah, neat intricate play there outside the box. Fades go left hand side, Kula with his yellow football boots on, and he just never gets the power behind it. He never looked as though he was going to strike it into the top corner to beat the goalkeeper comprehensively.
Not a huge amount of belief in it, but nice build-up from Ivory Coast. But the clock is ticking down. Only 19 minutes remaining here. Ivory Coast leading 2-0. And Brazil and Portugal will know in that match in Durban, which you can hear if you wish to with Talksport on medium wave 1053, 1089, that 0-0 scoreline there is enough to take those two sides into the knockout phase of the 2010 FIFA World Cup. It's played all the way across to the left-hand side, to the fullback, Arthur Boca. What's he going to be able to do now? Can they start to conjure something up? They need something special, Ivory Coast. They've got to turn the screw again. He gets a return pass, wants to take on the fullback, tries to get towards the byline, but then just checks back, places it in short to Kalou. Narrow angle, shot over the bar. Kalou couldn't find the target.
Good play by Kalou and Arthur Boca there on the left-hand side, but once he turned, good turn, beats him comprehensively, the centre-back on the edge of the 6-yard box, never hits the target, shocking left foot, shocking left ankle there, keep it positive, keep it tight and hit it on the target.
The Chelsea man has not had a good World Cup, and he would have hoped for something better there, and that is another clear scoring opportunity that has been squandered by the Ivory Coast, and they still lead by 2-0. You're listening to North Korea versus Ivory Coast on Talksport with Nivea for Men, proud supplier to the England team. 2-0 Ivory Coast lead, played forward long towards Drogba, doesn't manage to control it. It's starting to become more Route 1 stuff now, and maybe that will still be a way to unlock this defence of North Korea. And they broke, but it's broken down in due course and played forward down the left-hand side to Romerick, and then out to the left wing to the overlapping fullback Boca, who plays it inside to Kalou, dropping deep. Yaya Touré, as Kalou wanted the return ball, but Touré turns and plays it back to Emmanuel Eboué instead, and then to Dindan, then Eboué, now Yaya Touré for Ivory Coast, putting the passes together but not really going anywhere as it's played laterally again down that left side to Boca, and then inside, swung from Romerick to Tiote, then to Dindan. He just plays it back inside, and a little chip forward. Oh, that was a waste from Eboué. Silly, just tried to chip it forward, and it was sort of champagne practice, five-a-side stuff, which at this stage isn't what's needed.
No, you've got the red shirts and red shorts and red socks of the North Koreans. They're just banking up. They've got a bank of 5 and then a bank of 4 plus the goalkeeper behind them, and they can't break them down, John. They can't break them down. They haven't got the ability. They haven't got the craft. I would think Romerick is the only one to break them down. We haven't seen Yaya Touré in the second half, and we haven't seen number 9 Tiote either. They've been eventful out there. They haven't contributed. There's no width, there's no natural width, and the only fellow that had that was Kaida Keita, and he was taken off. Yeah, that was where the danger was coming, down the right flank, and Aruna Dindan's been pretty anonymous since he's been introduced to the fray, but they've still got 15 minutes in which to do something special. And here's Didier Drogba on the edge of the area, but he's got 4 shirts around him, and the tackle comes in. He can't do it on his own. Yeah, but John, if I'm the other forward and I'm seeing my player run at me, I present myself as a target, like the war ball, like Tottenham Hotspur used to push and run. You tell him to play your feet, you play to feet, play the ball round the corner, and you get a shooting opportunity. They've not created anything like that. They've not been inventive whatsoever, and I just get very, very frustrated.
It's as though they came out after the half-time interval. First 5-10 minutes, yes, there was something there, but as it's unfolded, that belief, that spark has gone, and now as the stadium is in darkness, we've got a full moon overhead. It's North Korea who are starting to get just a little bit more spark into their play as Jong Tae-se loses out down the right side as he had the ball on the edge of the area, and Arthur Boca brings it out to Romerick inside him. Romerick plays it forward to Dindan, who's dropped deep in the centre circle, plays it to the right hand side to Eboué. Well, will Eboué this time look to take his man on? Tries to thread a ball through to Dindan, who'd continued the run into the area, but it was easily through to the goalkeeper Myong-guk.
Well, the hotels that they've been staying at, where they've had all the passports, they'll be coming out tomorrow morning. I have no shadow of a doubt now about these two teams. They will be going home, and the safes that kept all the passports will be coming to a situation where North Korea will be taking their players back home.
Even if Brazil were to get a late goal against Portugal, Portugal now would qualify unless there was an absolute avalanche of goals from the Ivory Coast in the last 14 minutes, and I frankly can't see it happening. Kalou back deep in his own half, loses out on possession. It's gone out for a throw-in, and Sven-Göran Eriksson turns away in a little bit of disgust to the other people on the bench, as much as to say, well, I've tried my best, but it's not happening.
Is he a positive person? Do you know him, or you've been in contact with him? Because he never sets his team out positively, does he, really?
No, well, I think he sees himself more as a strategist, Bobby. That's his approach, and it needed something different, didn't it? And it's fallen away. They started so brightly first 15-20 minutes, and I wonder what Didier Drogba said. He's been across and had a word with them, I think.
Yeah, it wasn't with Sven-Göran Eriksson neither. It was with another member of staff. That was interesting.
Well, Drogba not happy, I don't think. Cross come in, and it almost sneaking in was Jong Tae-se for North Korea. Almost sneaked in ahead of the Ivory Coast defence, and they were almost caught napping there. Now they come forward again in numbers on the right hand side. On the right wing, it's Didier Drogba who's going to run at the defence, but coming back and able to see it out was Jae Yun-nam, and it's gone out for a corner though, I think. And Didier Drogba, no, it's not.
No, it's a free kick. Drogba got his arm in his back, and he went sprawling, and the linesman on the right hand side there with his red and yellow flag, checkered flag, made sure it was a free kick to North Korea.
Drogba, one of the great heroes of African football, of course. How much he would have liked to have seen his side through into the knockout phases. How much he would have loved to have illuminated the closing stages of a World Cup. But it's not to be, and he can't do it all on his own. And this side, I'm afraid to say, this afternoon have been found a little bit lacking. Shooting chance for North Korea, driven low, and it was the substitute, Cho Kum-chol, who'd shot low, and it was Barry diving to his right who was able to collect, and worrying gaps opening up in the Ivory Coast defence.
They're getting very negative now. They're a spent force for me. A real spent force. Here's another substitution. Number 7. Will he be a wide player?
It's Seydou Doumbia, who has played a couple of years in Japan but now plays in Switzerland, and he is coming on. Who's making way, Bobby? Did you manage to...
Yeah, Romerek came off. He's been carrying an injury.
Righto.
The left footer.
Well, Doumbia is a striker. He's making his 8th international appearance, and he plays for the Young Boys Club in Switzerland. To the left-hand side, to Boca. Played long, route 1 stuff towards Didier Drogba, can't get his head in, and again the Korean defence back in numbers, but it comes out to Drogba, who controls it neatly on his right foot, plays it back to Yaya Toure, and Ted spreads it wide to Aboué. A little bit of trickery, edge of the box, tries to get inside, tries to get round the back of his man, but good defensive work from Jae Yun-nam for North Korea, and he manages to put it out for a corner, near side of the pitch.
He didn't tackle him, he said, "You've got to beat me, pal, I'm staying here," and they've got a corner from it. Will they take advantage?
Let's see. The cross is aimed at Drogba on the far post. He gets his head in, but the goalkeeper's able to collect. It was Aboué who took the corner, and Drogba was up above the defence, as he is so often, but he couldn't get the header he wanted.
I'm just seeing a close-up of Drogba there on the monitor in front of us, and his eyes are not sparkling. His body language is not good. It's as though he's saying, "This will not be my tournament."
Well, and he probably knows in his heart that it's in all probability going to be his last tournament. He might be there in 4 years' time. He's 32 years old, assuming Ivory Coast can qualify, and that in itself is a big assumption. Here's North Korea moving forward again. Are they going to be able to get a moment to cheer them? It's the substitute who came on just a moment or two ago, chipped it across, and it's the number 9, June Tae-se, and on the edge of the area he shoots, and it's blocked.
Brilliant.
It's blocked on the 6-yard box. On the 6-yard box by Kolo Toure. He almost got home and got the goal that he promised, but it wasn't to be. Back in possession with North Korea, and Pak Nam-chol on the left-hand side plays it forward, and that's a return pass, and then plays it back once again to Pak Chol-jin. He's looking to measure a right-footed cross, instead plays it short, and it comes back to number 4, Pak Nom Chol, and then comes clear for for Ivory Coast as that move breaks down. It was Drogba who was back helping his defence, who tried to thread the ball through, was unable to do so, and now down the left side it's the full-back Boca who crosses left-footed, and they've got a goal. It's number 3, and it's Salomon Kalou got on the end of that cross, and Ivory Coast have got their 3rd goal, but surely it's a little bit too late. Kalou on the mark.
Do you know who gave his soul for that goal? Was Drogba. Drogba went back. They should have been 2-1. Kolo Touré was brilliant in defence. He was magnificent, just like John Terry the other evening. He gave his all there. Kolo Touré blocked the shot from John Tacey, and then Drogba picked the ball up, playing more as a midfield player, put the ball wide left out to Arthur Boca. He puts a delightful ball in, and it's a fabulous little touch in there by
Kalou.
What?
The substitute, and he'll say that I've proved a point. Maybe I should have been on from first place.
Yeah, but it's a team game. You've had to have somebody, Kolo Touré, stopping the ball and then passing the ball like Drogba, and then like Arthur Boca, and then Kalou just side puts it home.
Still 0-0 between Portugal and Brazil. Sven-Göran Eriksson looks at his watch, raises an eyebrow as well as he might have done, and knows 8 minutes to go. It's not going to happen. We need another 4 or 5.
But he's thinking. I think we're thinking more positively than he is.
Myong Guk, the goalkeeper, took a bit of a nasty tumble in that challenge from Kalou. He's up on his feet and being patted on the back by the referee, and the ref is suggesting either go off and get some treatment or let's continue.
He seems to have a low threshold of pain, doesn't he?
Well, he's taken a few knocks, to be fair.
Yeah, the first one was a clout, but I'm not quite sure about that one, John.
Watch again at the other end. It was almost a goal, wasn't it, to John Taisei?
What's Kolo Touré? That's brilliant. That is magnificent defending. Magnificent.
Here's North Korea in possession with less than 7 minutes of normal time remaining now, but it breaks down, and it's that little fullback who's battling for the ball, Boca. He's in. Well, I think he's got the free kick being given in his direction, but he's been absolutely tireless, hasn't he?
Yes.
He's played down the left-hand side. Kalou finds it. Dindan drifting into a central area, lays it back to Yaya Touré, who plays it forward. Narrow angle for Kalou once again, who holds it up and just plays it back to Yaya Touré again, who's looking for a bit of movement on the far side and manages to pick out Emmanuel Aboué. Goes round the back of his man, puts his cross in low, but played out behind for a corner on this near side.
Everything now is starting to come down the right-hand side, but Arthur Boca, he's got a left foot that is so sweet to deliver the ball.
Corner was taken short by Ivory Coast, and they tried to get round the back through Dindan, played to the near post, and played straight to a North Korean defender. So a goal kick has been. Was it played behind?
Yes, it went behind. The linesman got his flag up as soon as
Dindan.
As soon as he released it, Dindan, it went over for a goal kick.
Fair enough. Well, that's another attacking opportunity for Ivory Coast, which has been squandered. Just a matter of minutes remaining. You're listening to North Korea versus Ivory Coast on Talksport with Marston's pedigree. England has it. Ivory Coast leading North Korea by 3-0. And a similar time has elapsed in the match in Durban, I'm told. And there it's Brazil 0, Portugal 0. A scoreline which means that it'll be Brazil and Portugal who progress out of this group as things stand. Ivory Coast in the second half have just not had the urgency which I'm sure Sven-Göran Eriksson would have wanted. They seemed to lose self-belief for a little while, and now as they turn the screw in the closing stages, surely it's too little too late. Boca was body checked, and it's going to be a free kick for Ivory Coast deep into the North Korean half. Can they conjure something from here? Myong Guk is looking a little bit pensive as well as he may, and it's another goal for Ivory Coast, who has played it low.
No, John, no, it's not. It's offside.
Oh, well, Seydou Doumbia thought he was there, but yes, the assistant had his flag up. Sven-Göran Eriksson is just absolutely implacable in the technical area, and it was a correct decision. Look, we saw a replay, and Doumbia, the substitute, was indeed offside.
Definitely, and the linesmen have been very astute, haven't they? They've followed everything very, very carefully and given decisions. So 2 offside goals that...
2 offside goals. Had they stood at 5-0, you'd have been, you'd have been starting to think, well, maybe there's still a hope here. It's played forward long by Boca towards this near side, and in a forward position, it's Dindan who lays it back now to Emmanuel Aboué, who plays it out to Dindan once more on the right flank for the Ivory Coast. Lays it back inside to Tiote, the central midfield player from 20 Enschede, now to the fullback, Arta Boca, on that left-hand side. A little bit of trickery from him, but he just lays it back for Touré, headed across by Kalou at the near post, but they couldn't get on the end of it. Dindan was there, Drogba was there, but they couldn't find the man, and it's come away by North Korea, but only as far as Boca, who crosses once more. The goalkeeper was nowhere, he was reaching for it, but fortunately for him, nobody behind him, and it's gone out for a goal kick.
Well, Drogba's drifted into the old inside left position, the old number 10. He's not actually putting himself in the penalty area. He's let Kalou and Dindan make runs into there, and one of the midfield players come in late. He's given his best. Now Drogba in another position, and that's so brave of him, because he's drifted, he's dropped short, and he's another danger. He thinks he's got the feet and the ability to play in that midfield role, and he has.
Another African team due to exit this World Cup then. Ivory Coast leading by 3-0 in the 88th minute in Nelspruit. Goals from Yaya Touré, Romerick, and in the second half from the substitute Kalou. Didier Drogba had the ball in the back of the net. It was disallowed. He's tried with all his might to try and change this one, to reshape it in the direction of Ivory Coast, but it's not going to happen, and it's still Portugal 0, Brazil 0, and Ivory Coast down the left-hand side yet again through the fullback Boca, who just plays it back now to Touré. It's played forward, looking for Kalou, I think it is, who's gone down, and he's tumbled a little bit painfully to the ground under the challenge of Pak Jol Jin, and it's going to be a free kick for Ivory Coast, about 35 yards out, just to the left-hand side as Ivory Coast look at it, of that North Korean area.
They've lost Romerick now, who was taking all the free kicks with that beautiful sweet left foot. Who's going to take this one? Is it Drogba?
Well, he's just about in range, I suppose.
Yes,
Drogba's over
it is.
He's going to have a go.
Good shout, wasn't it?
Good shout, yes. Thank you, Mr. Gould. The words of Bobby Gould. You're listening on digital to North Korea and Ivory Coast, and Drogba is over the ball. They're organising a wall there, and there are people on the far post, but it might be that he has a little bit of a dip from here. Steps up now, but he chips it forward and headed over the bar by Kalou. Oh, dear, dear, but the flag had gone off for offside anyway, so immaterial. Kalou unable to find the target, and another attacking opportunity, another chance. Maybe there were 2 or 3 of them offside, to be fair. Another chance has gone begging.
I think Kalou was born offside, you know. He gets into his offside position so often. I think he was born offside.
Thank you very much, Bobby.
Yeah, but he keeps going in there. He hasn't got a brain. He's got to start thinking. I can't go in there. If the red shirts are stepping up and you go in there, that's non-thinking football.
You'll make with the low pain thresholds down again as well. I think Mr. Myong-guk, he's getting more treatment.
Yeah, well...
There were, to be fair again, there were 4 men bearing down on him, and a couple of them did clatter him. I'm trying to see it from his perspective.
John, if I'd have clattered him, he definitely wouldn't have got back up.
Didier Drogba's gone across to have a word with the assistant on this side, who signalled offside. If he could have seen the replay that we've seen, he could have seen that 3 or 4 blokes were offside, never mind 1.
Yeah, quite easily. But they should do that to the players. They should have the challenge. They say, look, you think that wasn't offside, you just have a look at this. You stop all the arguments and people, and they could recognise that the referees and the linesmen are making good decisions.
I don't think Myong-guk wants to continue. I think he wants to be substituted here. He wants to find the sanctity of the dressing room with a couple of minutes remaining. We're into time added on, incidentally.
Well, he's just copped 7. He got 7 against Portugal, and he's just copped another 4 now, plus the offside goal. He's collected what a number.
I wonder I wonder how many minutes of time added on we've got here. There might be a fair amount of it. It seems to have 5 minutes.
Yeah.
We've got the trainers on an awful lot, and more to add maybe to that, because
is that Adrian Durham that linesman there, that red-headed one? He's got red hair just like Adrian.
Really?
Yeah.
In the crowd, surely
No,
not.
as a linesman.
Ah, right.
Yeah.
Multitasking. Down the left-hand side then for Ivory Coast. Boca plays it in again, aiming for Kalou and Drogba, but it comes off the head of a Korean defender onto this near side, and it's going to be a throw-in. It was Didier Drogba who's moved into a more forward role again. It's taken quickly by Dindan. Back to Emmanuel Aboué, who cuts inside, gets to the edge of the area, looking to tee up his man, but there's a lot of defenders back. Aboué's gone tumbling to the ground, and they lose out on the edge of the area, and Korea able to bring it clear, but the move breaks down. Here come Ivory Coast again in the closing seconds of this match. It's into the area for Drogba, who tried to put a little back foot through to Kalou, and one of the 6-7 defenders in that area for North Korea, Rae Kwon Chan, plays it out, but only as far as another green vest for Ivory Coast. From the left side, it's Boca who plays it in, but it's headed wide of the far post by Didier Drogba, and it's just not going to be for Drogba.
No, they're just playing forwards against defence now. It's the green and white shirts and the white shorts of Ivory Coast. They just keep relentless attacking against the Koreans, playing in their red shirts, red shorts and red socks. It's virtually all over now.
You're listening to North Korea versus Ivory Coast on Talksport with Marston's pedigree. England has it. Shots on target. There have been 27 shots from the Ivory Coast as against 8 from North Korea, and they lump it forward, route 1 towards Drogba again, headed clear, and it only comes as far as Tiote, who plays it wide to the left to Boca, who looks for Drogba and Kalou again in that area, but they can't get on the end of it. Drogba looks as though he's just about all in. He knows that the game is up now and that it's not going to be.
I think it's a spent force now, aren't they? They haven't put the quality of crosses in that you would wish for, and when they have, players have gone into offside position, so it'll be a disappointing end to their tournament. They came with such great hopes that they didn't fire in the first game.
They didn't fire against Portugal, and I know we said it earlier in the match, Bobby, but a penny for the thoughts of Sven-Göran Eriksson on that one. If only they gambled a bit more against Portugal, maybe they'd have got lucky. And of course Didier Drogba didn't start that match, and that was a factor as well.
That broken arm, where he got tackled in the
against Japan.
Yeah, in a friendly. Costly, so costly.
It's going to be a goal kick for Ivory Coast. John Taisei pursuing down the right flank, looking to keep it in play, unable to do so, and it's going to be a goal kick for Ivory Coast. And it's brought forward by Dindan, running powerfully down the right side. Touré's given him the option on the right side, but it's a poor ball from Dindan, played out by the fullback, and it's going to be a throw-in for Ivory Coast. Yaya Touré comes across and takes it, plays it back to Ismail Tiote, whose cross into the centre was poor, and it's hoofed clear by Ri Jun-il, who's taken a rather nasty tumble as he does so. I think they're so tired of falling over rather than being fouled. Good cross comes in this time from the right-hand side, but it was headed wide of the mark by Kolo Touré, who was up helping the attackers, trying to get on the end of that one. But they know now that they are on their way out, Ivory Coast. It is time added on in the match between Portugal and Brazil as well. There's just seconds remaining, 5 minutes of added time as well at Durban, I'm told. It's still 0-0 there. Brazil and Portugal on their way through. Ivory Coast leading 3-0, and another attack now. We're in the last minute of play here, and it's played through by Drogba, but only as far as the defender. And there is the final whistle. The final whistle is blown, and it is Ivory Coast 3, North Korea 0, and this African nation of whom so much was hoped for, and there were great expectations, of course, in the African continent that they could have produced a real threat to win this tournament. It's not to be, and they go out, as do North Korea.
I don't think they had any belief, John, that they thought they could go a long way in this tournament, and unfortunately for Drogba, who's given his all, he worked and worked relentlessly there, and he has been the leader. That yellow armband that is wore around his left arm with great pride. He has taken his team so far forward, having had an horrendous break of the arm that he's recuperated from. He had an operation, he comes back, but unfortunately no width, no natural width, and they played so tight.
I can't believe that he took Carter Cater off. I know the game had just about gone by then, but he was providing a threat down that right-hand side. There was some trickery, and then he was substituted, and Dindan really, when he came on, did next to nothing.
If you push Arthur Botka down the left-hand side, you've got natural width, you can get crosses in, but it wasn't to be, and you just wonder what goes through coaches' minds at some time. Now the coaches will go in, John, they'll sit down, and all that responsibility, all the pressure will just fade away. It's amazing. It's just like you exhale your air, and all of it comes out of your body. You are not in charge anymore. You are not responsible anymore, and it's just like as somebody takes a load off you, because the pressure they've been under all these months, especially the North Koreans. They have worked diligently. Sven-Göran Eriksson now will be disappointed, he'll be deflated, because he hasn't taken this African team through.
The final whistle has sounded in Durban, and there it is, 0-0 between Portugal and Brazil. So confirmation that Brazil go through as the group winners. In second place, Portugal. Ivory Coast, who won by 3-0. 13th minute goal from Yaya Touré, opening the scoring after Didier Drogba's early strike was ruled out for being offside. Romerick made it 2-0 in the 20th minute, and then in the 82nd minute, Salomon Kalou, the substitute, getting in on the end of a terrific left-footed cross from Arthur Botka. He got in to make it 3-0, but for Ivory Coast, not good enough. So far as this group's concerned, do you think we've seen the winners of this tournament, potentially with Brazil? Are they the side?
No, I still put my money on Argentina.
More flair.
Messi and Maradona is leading the squad of players. Eccentric, yes. Delighted for him, because he's taken a lot of criticism, but he is endeavouring to put a true football inside out there, and they are working very hard, and they have got Messi, who is a special player, and we are so privileged to be witnessing somebody like this youngster, 22 years of age, playing to the limits he's playing,
and potentially standing in the way of England's progress. We've got that match, of course, England against a little matter of Germany first.
Yeah, just a little matter, and they are not the force they are. They are inexperienced. They haven't got so much experience, but it'll be a fantastic game. It always has been, and the jewels are there, the jewels to compete against Germany. For England to play them, what a wonderful opportunity for both sets of players.
Well, we'll be moving on to United States against Ghana tomorrow, which is an interesting one in itself. United States, who qualified by dint of that last-minute goal from Landon Donovan. They got through, and I'm sure that they'll continue as they have done so far in this tournament to play an attacking sort of game and try and fulfill the expectations of the North American continent. So far as the African continent's concerned, Ivory Coast here have gone out a little bit disappointingly, and Brazil and Portugal progress. Brazil, you don't think. Portugal, on their day, you can't rule out a team which has Ronaldo in there.
No, you can't, but he's not been the force that we've thought he would be, and that's why I always edge towards Messi.
We'll see. Great players need great occasions. You don't get any greater than the 2010 FIFA World Cup. Here you've been listening on digital to myself, John Rawling, and Bobby Gould to Ivory Coast and North Korea, and it's finished here. Ivory Coast 3, North Korea 0.